in the headlines of this hour on VTV News. Prime Minister holds meeting with Laos authorities on flood recovery measures. And foreigners admire Vietnam's unity during a storm and flood. In our world news, Storm Francine lashes Louisiana, leaving hundreds of thousands without power.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is 3 p.m. local time and you're tuning in to VTV News. I'm Huyen Tan with the top stories. The latest reports from localities indicate that the death toll and number of missing people have risen to 335, including 247 dead and 88 still missing. Lao Cai remains the hardest hit area with 104 dead and 67 missing. In Phúc Khánh Commune, Bảo Yên District, 8 people previously reported missing have returned safely, reducing the missing count to 41. However, 46 have been confirmed dead. Other severely affected areas include Cao Bằng with 43 dead and 9 missing, and In Bai with 49 dead and 1 missing. Authorities are still assessing the damage while relief efforts continue to support residents in flood-stricken areas. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh on Thursday held a meeting with various ministries, agencies, and the province of Lao Cai at the Bảo Yên District People's Committee office to address the aftermath of a devastating landslide in Nu Village, Lao Cai province. The disaster resulted in nearly 100 people dead or missing in the village, 180 total in the province, making Lao Cai the hardest hit area. The Prime Minister expressed deep condolences on behalf of Party General Secretary and State President To Lam and other party and state leaders. Now, during the meeting, he outlined 4 key goals. First, ensuring no one lacks food, clothing, shelter, or clean water. Second, quickly stabilizing the situation. Third, restoring agricultural, industrial, and service sectors to create jobs. Fourth, maintaining public order. He stressed the need to locate missing individuals, treat the injured, and assist families of the deceased. The Prime Minister also instructed authorities to clean up the environment, repair essential infrastructure, and restore services such as education and healthcare. Now, in response to the devastating flash flood that struck Nu Village in Lao Cai province, resulting in 95 deaths and numerous missing individuals, VTV's Vietnamese Heart Fund is stepping in to aid the community's recovery. Following up Prime Minister Pham Minh Ching's recent inspection of the flood's aftermath, the fund has proposed and received preliminary approval from the People's Committee of Lao Cai province to support reconstruction efforts in Nu Village. The Vietnamese Heart Fund will collaborate with local authorities to rebuild and construct homes for all 37 affected households in the village's newly planned area. Additionally, the project will include the development of auxiliary facilities, such as a community house and clean water supply systems. Now, the goal is to help residents recover from their losses and stabilize their lives as soon as possible, with all work expected to be completed by December 31st this year, as per the Prime Minister's directive. Now, rescue efforts are intensifying in Cao Bằng province, which has been severely hit by floods and landslides. Relief goods, including water, instant noodles, dry food, milk, and clothing, are being distributed from the Cao Bằng Provincial Fatherland Front Committee to isolated areas. Over 50 tons of supplies are being transported by 150 vehicles of businesses and families. Smaller vehicles have also been mobilized to deliver goods to areas hit by landslides to ensure safety. Medical teams are also on site for health checks and hygiene promotion to prevent disease outbreaks. Now, to date, over $488,000 and 75 tons of goods have been donated to the Provincial Fatherland Front Committee. The most urgent needs are rice and roofing materials for rebuilding homes. distribution plans are being adjusted to effectively meet emergency needs. The entire country is rallying behind Lào Cai province in the wake of devastating landslides, the worst in nearly a century. Hundreds of trucks carrying relief supplies from various provinces and cities have been making their way along the Nội Bài Lào Cai highway to assist the affected areas. With the water receding from roads leading to Bảo Yên district, the district's reception committee has begun distributing goods to residents.
Relief goods were first delivered to communes before being distributed to the isolated villages.
We're transporting relief supplies from the district to our boarding school.
The only option is to rent a canoe from the locals, as transport by road isn't possible.
The goods were sorted and distributed while people had a quick meal, awaiting their supplies.
We have to travel through Thượng Hà instead of taking Sơn Dương Road. I'm waiting for the relief goods to distribute to the villages.
We are provided with bánh chưng, eggs, drinking water, instant noodles, and rice.
Bảo Yên district has established a relief goods reception committee, overseen by the district's Vietnam Fatherland Front Committee. The reception point is situated in the hall of the District People's Committee's Administrative Center.
We've tasked the reception committee with documenting the relief items and noting the donors and contributing units, complete with stamps, to ensure a transparent report.
Over the past 2 days, hundreds of trucks have delivered crucial aid, including food, water, and other essential goods, to flood-stricken areas.
In Hưng Yên, timely evacuations from flooded areas have prevented casualties. However, initial agricultural damage is estimated at over $3.2 million, including the loss of more than 10,000 livestock. Efforts are now focused on helping people protect their property, livestock, and crops as the water recedes.
Once people were safe, the focus shifted to rescuing livestock. By Thursday night, over 1,500 pigs have been evacuated from Phu Công Commune in Văn Giang district.
The local police, army, militia, and self-defense forces provided enthusiastic support, and we were truly touched.
As the floodwaters receded, farmers rushed to salvage the remaining fruit from their guava gardens. With 14 hectares of the cooperative's land damaged, they had to harvest quickly in an effort to recoup some of their labor costs.
These are the guavas the cooperative had just harvested. It's about 1 ton. We also encourage people to persevere through this difficult period.
We will use the reverse budget to provide partial support for households with under 50% damage and full support for over 50% damage.
During these challenging times, relief trucks are rushing to deliver aid to flood-stricken areas in Hưng Yên, providing crucial support to affected residents.
Now, in the most critical moments of natural disasters, people have remained confident in the protection and assistance from military and police officers. Over the past few days, the police force has swiftly mobilized maximum personnel and equipment from various units and localities to respond to and mitigate the effects of floods and landslides, helping the people quickly stabilize production and ensuring that no one goes hungry or cold.
300 police officers from Lào Cai province along with other forces has marched through landslide-prone mountain roads to quickly reach the disaster sites. The search for missing victims continues with the principle of starting early, finishing late, relying on the community and ensuring the safety of officers. In the flooded areas, officer and soldier has been working day and night, going deep into every alley to help transport belongings and evacuate residents to safe places. For days, they have braved the rain and flood water to reach the people and deliver food supplies.
We are ensuring timely delivery of flood and storm prevention equipment, strengthening supplies for localities.
For these officers, helping people is not only a duty but also an expression of solidarity and responsibility. Through hardship, there is an even greater appreciation for the dedications and hard work of the forces, including the People Police Force.
Now, before we move on to other important updates, let's take a look at the foreign exchange rates of today, September 13th. Coming up next on VTV News. The majority of businesses recover operations following a Typhoon Yagi's impact. And foreigners admire Vietnam's unity during storm and flood. The telecommunications network in northern mountainous provinces has largely been restored, ensuring communication for residents and also facilitating rescue and disaster response efforts. Now, according to a report from the Military Industry and Telecommunications Group, or VTV, less than 5% of stations and cable lines remain disrupted, primarily in areas severely affected by landslides and isolated from main roads. VTV's network has been fully restored in the provinces of Bắc Cạn, Lạng Sơn, Điện Biên, Cao Bằng, and Thái Nguyên. Rising river levels in Hải Dương have caused 331 incidents affecting dikes and the Bắc Hưng Hải irrigation system since the floods began as of 7 a.m. Friday. Emergency forces and local residents promptly handle 113 dike-related incidents and 218 irrigation system issues. Currently, the dike and irrigation systems in Hải Dương remain secure. There are still 8 unresolved irrigation system incidents and 1 dike issue in Thanh Miện district, and authorities are swiftly addressing these issues. Now, nearly 4,500 households have been relocated to safe areas away from riverbank regions, as the water levels of major rivers and the Bắc Hưng Hải system remain high. The province urges continued monitoring of recently resolved incidents and the completion of ongoing repairs. Patrols and vigilance on dikes and irrigation structures are set to intensify, and authorities emphasize prompt action to handle new incidents and raise public awareness of flood risk to prevent panic. 98% of enterprises in industrial parks across provinces and cities affected by Typhoon Yagi have restored production and reopened for operation. This information was released by the Ministry of Labor, Invalids, and Social Affairs.
Thanks to the underground power grid system, industrial parks in Bắc Ninh have maintained normal production and only reduced output on the day Typhoon Yagi hit.
By adjusting production schedules to avoid the storm's peak and arranging accommodation for affected workers, we've maintained proactive production even during the typhoon. We haven't taken a single day off.
Bắc Ninh and Bắc Giang are 2 provinces with factories integrated into the global supply chain. Maintaining continuous production is crucial not only for workers and businesses, but also for the overall economy.
The factory still maintained operations even during the 2 days of the storm and provided on-site accommodation for workers. The board of directors, together with relevant departments, provided maximum support for timely storm prevention and on-site handling of arising issues.
As of now, in provinces and cities such as Hải Phòng, Bắc Giang, Bắc Ninh, and Quảng Ninh, nearly all workers have safely returned to work. In areas severely affected by the storm, businesses have also made efforts to restore factories, machinery, and equipment to resume production.
At all times, large and key businesses in the province were ensured electricity, water supply, and normal production. Suppliers for these businesses were also guaranteed electricity and water. After the storm passed on the 9th, Almost all businesses resumed stable operations.
Enterprises in the province's industrial zones have stabilized production and returned to operation.
According to reports from enterprises, Vietnam's export orders have been delivered on schedule in recent days. Protecting production also minimizes the impact of natural disasters.
Ha Long Bay has resumed tourism services starting Friday. Visitors can explore routes and attractions that have been inspected and deemed safe by authorities after the typhoon. This includes route number 1, Thiên Cung Cave to Đầu Gỗ Island, route number 2, Sừng Sốt Cave, Luon Cave, and T-Top Island, and route number 5 except for Ba Hang Village. Overnight stays are now allowed at 587 Islet, Lat House, Luon Cave, and the high-speed boat transfer point at Cat Lat Island. Other attractions are being quickly restored and will reopen to tourists as soon as possible. Now, the recent floods and landslides have isolated many regions, leaving them without electricity, clean water, or food. In response, Uncle Ho's soldiers have been actively assisting those in affected areas to safeguard lives. The following story comes from Yên Bái, a region severely impacted by the floods.
Upon receiving information about a landslide affecting 20 households in Yên Ninh Ward, the Yên Bái Provincial Military Command immediately dispatched officers and soldiers to support residents. Locals were moved by the sight of officers and soldiers working tirelessly in rain and flood.
Uncle Ho's soldiers have always been there for the people. Even when the water receded, they cleaned up and served the community. Uncle Ho's soldiers are always enthusiastic.
Uncle Ho's soldier spirit is wonderful.
Many families were severely affected by Typhoon Yagi. Despite this, soldiers continue to carry out their mission.
My family was also hit by a landslide, but as one of the Uncle Ho soldiers, I'm committed to our tradition of patriotism, so I try to help people return to their normal life.
First, we focused on thoroughly educating the soldiers to comply with the civil discipline and the unit's regulations. Our soldiers aren't afraid of difficulties, sacrifices, or hardships.
Soldiers triply transported 100 tons of rice to localities in military regions 1, 2, and 3. In the past 2 days, they've delivered over 4.4 tons of goods by air to residents in Quảng Ninh and Cao Bằng. Standing shoulder to shoulder with people during difficult times, Uncle Ho soldiers understand the hardships and losses faced by the community. As a result, wherever locals need assistance, Uncle Ho soldiers are there to help.
Typhoon Yagi has caused severe damage to people and property, disrupting lives in northern flood-affected areas. In these challenging times, the Vietnamese people have shown remarkable mutual support. Images of their unity in overcoming storms have left a lasting impression on international friends.
Living and working in Hanoi, Eddie has been closely following the storm situation, seeing the losses suffered by people in flooded areas and their noble acts of kindness. He could not sit still. He will soon travel to Yên Bái with local and international friends to support those in need.
I saw videos and photos, they helping each other, shoulder against shoulder. The people trying to drive their bikes, and the other car trying to cover them, you know, the wind. And I think this is beautiful. This is humanity.
This group of Italian tourists arrived in Vietnam just as Typhoon Yagi was about to hit the country. They were stuck in Lào Cai for about 4 days due to heavy rain and landslides, and recently returned to Hanoi.
In Bắc Hà, although there was no electricity or internet, the important thing was that we were safe. The government and locals quickly handled the situation. I remember that in less than 30 minutes, they had resolved the landslide and cleared the road for our car to return to Hanoi. I am very grateful for that.
In Hanoi, seeing the Red River rising and many neighborhoods becoming flooded, These tourists witnessed the resilience of the Vietnamese people in overcoming challenges.
No one wants to travel to Vietnam and encounter such a big storm. But thanks to that, I witnessed many beautiful images, a strong Vietnam, and people united, helping each other. The authorities are always present to help when people need it.
Whether visiting or residing in Vietnam, foreigners can't help but admire the humanity and solidarity displayed by the Vietnamese people during storms and floods.
Coming up next in our world news. Hurricane Francine lashes Louisiana, leaving hundreds of thousands without power. And Typhoon Yagi affected thousands across Southeast Asia. Now moving on to our world news, Hurricane Francine has caused severe damage in the U.S. state of Louisiana after making landfall on Thursday. Heavy rain, strong winds, and high waves have flooded many areas, leaving hundreds of thousands of people without power and raising a serious flash floods risk. Due to the impact of the storm, schools and government agencies in the state are closed until September 13th to ensure safety. Curfews have been imposed in many areas, and the state government has declared a state of emergency to mobilize support from the federal government. After sweeping across Louisiana, Hurricane Francine has weakened as it moves into Mississippi. Typhoon Yagi has unleashed severe rain and floods across many Southeast Asian countries, significantly impacting people's lives. More in the following.
Laos has issued a flood warning as the Mekong River and its main tributaries continue to rise following days of heavy rain across the country. On Thursday, the Mekong River in Luang Prabang was recorded at 19.02 meters. People in low-lying areas are advised to move their belongings to safer places. Northern Laos is experiencing its worst flooding in recent years due to Typhoon Yagi, which has caused river levels to rise.
In Thailand, over 36,000 households in 24 districts across 7 provinces continue to be affected by flooding due to Typhoon Yagi. 545 villages remain inundated. Floodwaters in Chiang Rai have reached waist level and continue to rise, causing road closures and flight cancellations. Military and rescue teams are evacuating trapped residents. Floods, landslides, and flash floods from Typhoon Yagi have claimed at least 9 lives in Chiang Rai and Chiang Mai provinces.
Heavy rains from Typhoon Yagi have led to severe flooding and landslides in central Myanmar, resulting in at least 17 deaths. Thousands were evacuated on Thursday as river levels continued to rise. Floods have breached dangerous levels and disrupted communication. According to the Myanmar Meteorological Department, rainfall is expected to increase today before gradually tapering off.
A growing hazardous waste problem from the United States' booming oil and gas industry is being explored as a possible business opportunity. New Mexico operators are testing whether they can treat and potentially reuse large volumes of toxic water produced from fracking for new industrial use.
The oil and gas industry in New Mexico reuses over 85% of its produced water in new oil and gas operation. The rest is pumped underground. But with injection wells filling up, New Mexico has begun restricting underground disposal. The state is now expected to export over 3 million barrels of that water per day by the end of 2024. Strange dynamic in a water-scarce state.
They'll go in and drill the well first, and then they'll come build these frac pits where they'll fill it with fresh water, and then they'll go back in and pump the fresh water down hole to open the formation up. And then once it comes back out, that's when it's turned into produced water. It's got oil and gas and everything else mixed with it, and that's what produced water comes from.
Even Aldridge, the mayor of Jal, New Mexico, wants the state to develop regulations allowing for produced water to be treated and used instead of discarded, and is encouraging companies to figure out how to make it happen cheaply and at scale.
Am I 100% convinced? No, but they're taking the step to convince me, and I need to take those steps with them.
The untreated water is trucked in by local drillers and held in 2 large storage tanks before getting piped through a membrane filter to remove solids and then distilled.
Now, as usual, let's move on to the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app at VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel, VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.